Well, hello, my baby gorillas, and what a year 2019 was. Still can't live stream through YouTube. Very, very disappointing. Obviously, restricting how the channel can grow as well. Hopefully, later on, we'll be able to, this year, hopefully, we can get our 370 subscribers. So, if you've not subscribed, subscribe. So that we can start live streaming and doing other interesting things on the channel. I might set up a couple of other non-politically related channels, maybe one that's politically related as well, something about political science. But unbelievable what a year 2019 was. I always wanted to stand as a parliamentary candidate, and I was given the pleasure of actually standing in Edinburgh South West for the Brexit Party. Obviously, I've got the highest respect for Nigel. I think he's done a great job. I hope that he continues, because there's a lot of good people in the Brexit Party, and he changed it to the Reform Party. And there's no reason why Nigel, over a period of time in the party, the Reform Party, couldn't become the official opposition. We've already seen the decline in socialism. I mean, it's a bit of a jump going from the Labour Party to the Conservative Party, especially now that the Conservative Party is slightly more to the right of the centre-right. They get rid of a lot of the centre-right. As I told you prior to actually happening, that it did actually happen. So the fact is that the Labour Party is in decline. It's not just, there's a few blips that might happen here and there, but it's actually declining as people understand socialism and how it works and how it is detrimental. I'll come back to policy in a second, how it's detrimental to them. They will look for alternatives, because even though the Conservative Party is very successful, it'll get stale in a multi-party democracy. It'll get stale, and obviously the Green Party are, the Green Party are a bit crazy, to be honest with you. I was speaking on a panel with them, and they were talking about just letting anybody vote. I think anybody that's on holiday can vote over here if they come to Scotland. I mean, it's crazy. But the thing about the Green Party and the SNP are that they are what they call progressive, but it's really regressive, and they want to discriminate against their own people. So Nicola Sturgeon had already been on television saying that the SNP wouldn't be called the SNP if they had the time again, which to me is sort of mis-selling, isn't it? If you think you're going to vote for a Scottish National Party, not a Labour Light Party, which I think the SNP are becoming, just Labour Light. They're just a wee bit, okay, the Labour Party is a unionist party and the SNP are a slightly nationalist party, but they still haven't managed to get us out of the UK, although they keep winning elections. They won 48 seats there. Boris doesn't look like he's going to give anybody another referendum anytime soon. Although it's very difficult for them to stop a referendum if the SNP keeps winning elections. Although the SNP did say the last referendum was once in a generation. But if you dig deeper, just like the Green Party or the Labour Party, once you dig deeper into their extreme left-wing, progressiveness as an ideology is extreme left-wing. What they want to do is have one rule for you and one for another, and that's a progressive. Like, they're all, even though we've got a woman in Nicola Sturgeon, she's still oppressed by the patriarchy, this fictitious patriarchy, which is, it's all just basically bullshit, and they just make up things, and they change definitions in the dictionary, like racism is power plus, I don't know, it's just made up anyway. It's just nonsense. And they alter words, and they want mass immigration. There's Jack McConnell saying that we should have open door immigration, and because the Labour Party and the SNP, the Greens, even the Socialist Party, are all crazy. They've actually regressed Scotland with their socialist policies over the last probably 100 years. If you look at what was built prior, even the buildings, architecturally, what was built prior to the left coming in Scotland, and the shit that they've built since that, even in beautiful areas which is historic and has got some fantastic buildings, the absolute the cultural Marxist cancerous buildings, the mass schemes that have impoverished people because they don't have any infrastructure. These were built on social provision, not on actual economies or empowerment of the entrepreneur. And that's why Easter House has improved because there's larger retail units and things like that going in just now. But because these were built around social provision and basically warehousing people, gangs started, a lot of drugs started in the schemes, a lot of people were killed, and that was because of socialist policies. Now, Nicola, we've got a declining education system on the worldwide basis. Our universities are declining on the international stage, just becoming progressive talking shops. How embarrassing. I'm going to speak to the principal of Edinburgh University, because I think it's coming from Nicola Sturgeon, because she's obviously come out and said she's a progressive. And the principal of Edinburgh Uni's saying that white people shouldn't speak at the university and doing lectures on that, which is just racist. But because they've changed the definition of the word racism to fit anything they want, they're just changing things about just to fit anything they want, that they're allowing that to happen in our universities. While the mass immigration is deliberately been designed to displace the actual indigenous population. Oof, it's unbelievable. This is why we're going to have alternatives now in Scotland. We already saw the Scottish Libertarian Party standing, got a number of hundred votes. The Scottish Libertarian Party started off one councillor standing and 12 votes. That was the first. So that's progressing as well. We're going to see another party. Obviously, me, Andrew Neil, which I'm very grateful, Andrew, not even giving me the right of response through the BBC. I wouldn't hold my breath for even me making a complaint about it, because I know what you're like. You're just takers for taking other people's money and not actually giving them a proper right of response. So Andrew Neil calling me out, and Nigel being slightly left-sided there. He didn't know what I'd said. The journalist in Scotland had said or brought that up, obviously watching the Guerilla TV channel, thanks very much guys, brought that up in the national papers. The party said not to say anything to the papers. I would personally like to go into town anyway, so if any journalist wants to actually talk to me about what I said about Islam being a child rapist death cult, I'd be more than happy to discuss it. I sent a link to a YouTube channel from David Wood, who was talking about Mary, who was a Coptic Christian, who was the Prophet Muhammad's sex slave. So he was the Prophet, who's meant to be the perfect man, had a non-Muslim sex slave, and he was a sexual slave trader as well. He used to have sex with slaves, so basically a rapist, basically. And he used to have sexual slaves, and this is where, like in ISIS, they have sexual slaves against the Yazidis, because the Yazidis they see as heretics, and they used to have the white slave trade from North Africa, where the Turks, who are obviously Muslims as well, used to conduct the white slave trade with other European women. The harem which was always quite exotic, was just a Turkish rape den of enslaved European women. I was listening to Majid Nawaz talking about what had happened to the Muslims in Bosnia. But what had already happened years before was the invasion by the Turks, and the Slavs being enslaved and the women taken away. And there was an army made up of European enslaved people who were eventually murdered by the Turks. The Greeks were all killed, who had been living in Turkey for generations prior to the Turks coming over. They were all kicked out of Turkey, which obviously the Turks come from Turkmenistan. They're not actually from Anatolia or Constantinople. And they all came in, and now we're seeing the Turks getting involved in Libya as well. So there is a number of things that have actually happened there. And obviously the punishment under Sharia law for apostasy, which is leaving Islam, because obviously you understand what it's all about, then that's to kill. So as a death cult, because you're meant to, under Sharia law, you're meant to kill anybody that leaves Islam. The punishment for blasphemy is death as well. And this Islamophobia rubbish is just an imposition of this sort of backdoor blasphemy laws. And there's a number of other killing of homosexuals. I mean, there's Joanna Cherry. She seems quite keen in Islam, although being a homosexual herself. The punishment in the Hadith is to be thrown off, or that was certainly one of the punishments, was thrown off the minarets and then stoned at the bottom. Same with adulterous women. So all of these things that I was correct in calling it a death cult. And obviously Aisha, who was Muhammad's wife, was 6 when they get married. He was 59. Now, in historical context, you can understand if people weren't living longer, but I think in both Iran and Saudi Arabia, there's no limit on the marriage of children as well. So, and the Yemen, I think, as well, if I can remember correctly. So there's no age limits on the marrying of children based on the religious texts. So we're importing it here, and this is obviously having, they want to still comply, and our political class is allowing Islam and Muslims to comply with a different set of rules and values to the actual law of the land, and slowly bringing in Sharia courts. But you have to understand as well that our political class signed us up to Maastricht and the European Union, and they obviously signed us up to 28 unelected commissioners dictating our legislation. So our political class must have known that, and I think a political class must know that Islam has a political content as well. So it's not just a religion, there's a political aspect. In fact, there's a whole of life aspect from the teachings in the Quran. And so it must be able to be criticised. If it's a political system, then it has to be able to be criticised. This is not a democratic system that's in the Quran. It's a totalitarian, theocratically totalitarian system of governance that's in the Quran. That's why so many Muslim countries are not democratic. You can think of somewhere like Turkey and India. Turkey, obviously, because it's democratic, is probably doing the best, but they committed genocide in the Armenians. The Young Turks committed genocide. They've been killing people by invading right up to Constantinople, then invading into Europe, taking people as slaves, which obviously it says in the different books, the Quran, the Sunnah and the Hadith, to actually do enslaving other people. And now we've seen in the UK 50 mass murder attempts, source being the BBC, foiled attempts to commit mass murder by Muslims in the UK, all along talking about this far right, which is just fictitious. But our political class and our media are supporting the mass importation of people. So we're basically de facto open immigration policy. There's Jack McConnell, the former First Minister, who I already know and have already met, talking about we are more tolerant in Scotland and we should just be letting people in. Well, I think there should be some commonality that we should actually have a way of actually voting what our immigration policy should be, so we should all have a say in it. Should illegal immigrants just be allowed to walk into this country? I would suggest they shouldn't. But I certainly think we should have voted it. It's not Jack McConnell's country. It's not Nicola Sturgeon's country. It's all of our country. And we should have an input into who's coming over, especially if they're doing horrific things. And some of the violence against women by Muslims that allegedly Gordon Brown has sent a letter to for the police and other people to actually cover this up. So this has obviously been done by the political class and covered up by Gordon Brown, obviously on the back of Tony Blair allowing the mass importation and the displacement of the indigenous population. As we can see, London is nearly 50%, it's coming up for 50% non-English now. And it's not only it's non-English, the people who are in London have obviously migrated to London. They're first generation immigrants, they're not immigrants who have immigrated here and who have actually been born here. So I mean, it's that's a massive thing. Why is the political class wanting to displace the indigenous population? They're also saying that our birth rate's declining, so we can't ask women to actually have more children. Is that too much? Or go out on dates and get to know people? That's too much. We can't say that to women these days. I think women are under a lot of pressure anyway. I think women are now having to go and do jobs and basically taking jobs that men did. The men are now not getting employed as much. So that's not attractive to women who are wanting to always to get men who are better paid. And the men are getting kicked out of jobs so the women can go to work, and the women aren't having enough children. So if you're not having at least 3 children, which I haven't had either, but if you can't go on dates and you can't actually start dating, then the whole thing becomes a vicious circle. If women are going into work and they've got to spend their time working, and rather than looking after children, the men aren't then employed to actually build up their CVs and their employment, then the women maybe don't want to marry them because the men are poorer, because they've taken jobs maybe in quota systems like the Labour Party are doing to bring in some absolutely atrocious female MPs. The thing about America and Britain just now is that they've got the same thing that's actually happening. All of the people who have been muted for the job for the Labour leader look like they're going to make the Labour Party worse. And the same thing is happening in America. All the Democratic hopefuls look like they're going to make the Democratic Party worse. So we're seeing a decline in that left-wing politics, and we're seeing the extreme, that intersectionality, progressive, racist. It's basically a racist ideology, because obviously Marxism failed, and the class struggle failed. They saw all the deaths from Marxism in the German and Frankfurt schools, and in Paris they changed it because obviously socialism was dying on its ass, and changed it from class struggle to a racial struggle. So if you have opened doors and you're importing tons of people who then have got grudges about the fact that they're in a different, whether it be a gender or their sexuality or their race. Obviously, there's no such thing as race because we're part of the human race. This is the idiot socialists who only thing is to actually gain power, to put in more bad ideas. So they want to import tons of people and then have this intersectionality, which is racist and sexist. So we've now got a woman, Nicola Sturgeon, in charge of the Scotland, and she's oppressed, and women are oppressed. I see. And then we've got like people who are misandrous lesbians, like Joanna Cherry, who are men-hating lesbians, who's telling me to get out her constituency, and she's meant to be my MP. I mean, hostile women, but they don't have to be held to the same account, because in the progressive stack, me being a white male, even though I've been starving in Dubai for 2 years, just by dint of me being white, I'm higher up the stack than she is, although she is the MP and won an increased majority, while at the same time from the stand telling, yeah, we should have an open door immigration policy. I bet you she's not being affected by it. She's not the one that's not getting the council house, the council house that the people who have come from here have paid to actually stay in when they've not got a job. The SNP are a fake SNP, the Liberal Democrats are a fake Liberal Democrats party, and the Conservatives are a fake Conservative party. And that's the extent of our British politics just now. So what's going to happen? I was rather worried about Nigel. I'm not sure if he has the fortitude. Just now, every time, I think Nigel did great, getting 2% of the votes, fine. There was a political squeeze on. I was meant to get 0 point from the electoral calculus. I was meant to get 0.4% of the actual vote. I was slagged off in national television by Andrew Neil. And if you've got something to say to me, Andrew, I would prefer it if you said it to my face. The likelihood is I won't be going back into the Reform Party. If you're going to drop people, Nigel, at the first hint of somebody saying something bad about it, what you should have said in that situation is, well, you should have to talk to the candidate directly. But if you're putting in gags on the individuals who are actually standing for you, you don't have much faith in the actual individuals. But anyway, it's going to be an irrelevance for me personally, because I already knew what I was going to do prior to this. So I'm actually grateful to Nigel for letting me stand, even though I was kicked out prior to me actually standing. Because I had actually registered, I was able to stand anyway. So I was meant to get 0.4% in the electoral calculus. I got 1.2%, so we didn't have any votes for the Brexit Party before. So I'm very grateful to all the people in Edinburgh South West for actually voting for me. I think that was great. It really touched me. And this is just not the end. I think Andrew Neil thought, right, okay, we'll torpedo him and that'll be it done. It's merely the start. I've already stood as a chairman for the Scottish Young Conservatives. I've already stood as a councillor. I already helped set up the Scottish Libertarian Party, which looks like it's going from strength to strength. And get them standing candidates and get them actually, they were already a political entity, but they weren't running any candidates, and I got them the first national press, and they got 400 votes. Steph Johnston, who is actually disabled, managed to get 400 odd votes for it, so it's growing. But I hope that Nigel does set up the Reform Party, which will be absolutely great. I think the Reform Party, and they had some, in the Brexit Party has some great policies. I would have definitely, if I had the opportunity, I would have definitely voted for them as well. I don't think the SNP are delivering at a local level, at a national level. They're not getting another referendum. If they even do get another referendum and they fail, that's really going to be the turning point for the SNP, a bit like the Labour Party. From the actual stats just now, from the actual polls, they're slightly under, although they started a way back before, they're slightly under. I think that we'll have to see what Brexit Britain is going to look like. I'll come back to Bojo in a minute, but they started further back in the last referendum. But if they fail again, they're not going to get another referendum for a number of years. And I think there's going to be a new party. In fact, I know there's going to be a new political party in Scotland who will go for a Devo Max proposal. So that will benefit the Unionists, who will be allowed to stay in the UK, and also benefit the Nationalists and those wanting more power to the Scottish Parliament. And because it's a new party, the Conservatives will have to bring in legislation to actually facilitate this Devo Max. And it also, down in England, it allows the Democrats down there to have votes, English votes for English laws, which I don't think anybody can disagree with up here, although we would still do joint things together. And it would give Scotland more power. If we get our banking and financial institutions back in Scotland, it would give us more power to actually develop new businesses. So, I mean, there's some massive things going to happen just now. I think that within probably in the next month or so, we're going to actually see the start of this new party. I hope the Reform Party, which are the spin-off from Nigel and the Brexit Party, I hope they get going as well. I think they're great. I think the new party is going to be a libertarian party, and I believe in freedom of speech. So if Andrew Neil had said that to me, I would say, well, that's their freedom of speech. incitement to violence, regardless if it's a religion, is not acceptable. That's what I would be saying to Andrew Neil. And if you, as I said, Andrew, if you want to get me on, you should at least have the decency to say it to my face and give me a right of response. I thought that was very underhanded of you when you were actually saying that to Nigel. But anyway, it's not really a big deal. I knew it was going to make a wave anyway, but that's why I put it out in the first place. And I do agree with it. I am correct in what I've said, so it's not as if Andrew Neil wants to debate with me about the theocratic parts of the Quran, the Hadith and the Sunnah, I'll be more than happy, and what actually from Islamic history, how that's actually affected other countries. I'll be more than happy to debate with you, Andrew, or putting the points forward. But we already know that that's why Tommy Robinson's a product of the political elite who are importing this intolerant, misogynistic, homophobic ideology, while at the same time getting supported by the progressives who are exactly the opposite of this. Islam's a far right, conservative, well, it's very difficult to put into words, but yet getting backed by this far left identitarian, anti-white male, anti-white ideology, even though put by white people, and the two are combined. I mean, you have to do political mental somersaults to actually think that these are bedfellows, political bedfellows. The left are using the Muslims for their own devices, and the Muslims are using, because obviously it's a political ideology, the left for their own devices. My enemy's enemy is my friend. So, but they couldn't be more polar apart from their own political ideology. Oh, so Bojo won. And my jury's out with what Boris is doing. I don't know where Boris stands. I'm usually, as you know, on the ball, analysing where politicians stand and where they are in the political compass. But Boris is a real problem for me. Some of these will build new infrastructure crap is a bit like the Democrats in the United States. I would suggest that your focus should be in the building of entrepreneurs. It's entrepreneurs that create the wealth in this country, not a road. A road doesn't create the wealth. So, I mean, some of listen to Ash Sarkar, whatever her name is. I'm literally a communist, talking about how great it would be for the state to own broadband. I mean, why would that be great? They were absolutely shocking when they owned BT. The thing I'm shooting on just now is a phone. It was a big phone connected by a wire, and there was nothing great about what was happening in BT when it was nationalised. And I certainly don't want the state being able to flick on and off my YouTube channels or whatever they want to do to only have one, no competition, only have one state broadband provider, and knock out all competition and spend billions of pounds on the actual compensation for other providers who have spent years developing their own companies. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. People must have been going, are these clowns in the Labour Party on the glue? There's nothing that you were actually giving. Why would I want British Rail back in national hands? Why would it be preferable to spend the billions of pounds to repurchase National Rail? For what purpose? It's not that bad as it stands. It's probably slightly better under private ownership. Although the actual prices of the ticket, because it is a natural monopoly, and it's very difficult to build other track lines, you would just be better regulating and reducing the overall profits, or the amount that they could actually charge for a journey. That would be better if they're not spending it on the improvement of the hardware. so that it reduces their profits and reduces the cost that it's actually costing to actually travel. That would be preferable than actually getting billions of loans that's going to indebt the country to pay for a service that's not really that bad anyway. I don't want it to be back in public ownership. If you're going to spend 400 billion, I would give 400 billion to entrepreneurs throughout the UK to rebuild their communities. That's what I would do. Stage 1 and stage 2. After stage 2, then they can go to banks, business angels, venture capital, whatever it's going to be. And that's the way that we actually would be developing our country. It's the entrepreneurs that create the wealth, not the fucking public sector. Oh, I mean, honestly, it's like these politicians have been lobotomised. Our political class is stale. We need to get other people in who have got different ideas and the different mentalities to how to solve problems and how to look at it. We've just been going from the Labour Party to the Conservatives and back and bam, and that's it. And the people that they've got coming in for the Labour Party are not going to win jack diddly squat. So you're looking at it just now with Boris getting the 80 seats, depending on as well if Nigel continues and gets the Reform Party, which I think he should, because he's not committing to things. Like committing to, in the future, to stand in every seat, to fight the Conservatives as a party. He did very well in some of the northern constituencies, which helped Bojo get in as well. Because he's not committing, people are then getting nervous and not actually committing to him. He has to commit to politics like I'm going to commit for the rest of my life to politics and changing politics. And he has to be committed for his own referendum party. I mean, I will vote for the referendum party, even though what's happened to me, I don't hold any grudges to Nigel. And in fact, I'm very grateful to him. And I also think the policies and the contract they put forward were very good. So, I think he should go ahead with it, but he has to be committed to it. He has to, even if he doesn't stand again, which I think he should stand again, but I think it'll develop and it'll grow, and you have to get a grassroots. Like me in Edinburgh South West, I had nobody support me, although I get 625 votes from the great people of Edinburgh South West. The Brexit Party gets 0.5 across across Scotland, and I was beating members of UKIP and the Scottish Libertarian Party. I wasn't doing as well as some of the other people in the Brexit Party. They were getting over 1,000 votes, which was great as well. And also depends as well on how many people I think voted for Brexit there as well. But I don't understand, 28% of the electorate in Edinburgh South West voted for Brexit, and they must just be not voting for a Brexit party that would represent their interest, their what they voted for. I mean, the Conservative gentleman who declined in the vote as well, what's her face? Joanna Cherry increased her vote share. But I had no supporting structure here. I had no local structure. It has to start from the local authority elections, the Scottish elections, and work its way up and develop the infrastructure here to actually take on other political parties. And that will take a period of time. But because the Brexit Party was a one-off party, then there was no grassroots structure here. I was really happy. I don't know what happened with the Evening Times and the Scotsman, although it did do quite well when we started. I would definitely put the ads in again. But there was a few issues with the election and the campaigning, although I don't know if it would have done much better anyway. I think that there would have been limited in what we could have achieved in this one, but I think there has to be alternatives just now to the actual political establishment. There has to be alternatives. They're not good enough, and they're not up to it just now. And I'm not talking about the Green Party either. So, very interesting, very fascinating time. the Labour Party are going to get the Labour Party becoming a clown party. They're coming a party for London, maybe up near Manchester and Liverpool way, and maybe Newcastle. It's completely decimated by the SNP in Scotland. One MP, they had 40, I remember 40 MPs, members of Parliament for the Labour Party. You get one. And the guy, the one that's actually left's quite a nice guy as well. I've got a lot of time for him as an individual. Yeah, I mean, decimated. The Labour Party are falling. I mean, I'm increasing. We had no votes in Edinburgh South West, and now we've got 1.2%. So we would increase the size of the turnout in the election, the greater and the more times we actually stood as well. And when I set up the new party, then we'll have a completely different. This will be a completely different take to any other political entity just now that's available. It's in a different part of the political compass. So, I mean, fascinating stuff. Fascinating, great stuff. The new party is going to believe in freedom of speech, so we're not going to be bothered about if we're upsetting people. I might have to hand out packets of handy wipes because obviously this rubbish about hate speech and things like that as well. So it's going to be very interesting what's actually happening now. It's going to be very revolutionary. So I hope Nigel continues to do it. So the Keir Starmer looks like he's potentially going to win the Labour leadership, although Long Bailey, it's a cracking name, is also in the running because she's supported by the loony left. Yeah, there's a chance that she can do it. There's a few other ladies floating about in the background, but I don't think any of them are really up to it, to be brutally honest. But I don't think even Keir Starmer's going to be good. I mean, he's a Remainer. He's part of probably the Blairite right wing, the sort of that social democratic right, who all the left hate because they took him to war in Iraq. And it's just unbelievable. So we've put up the fact that Gordon Brown, there might have to be a public inquiry into Gordon Brown, because obviously if he's sent the letter up to stop the investigations, police investigating the trouble with the Muslim rape gangs, then all over England, then that's obviously something that has to be addressed in a public inquiry. So we have to look at what's actually happening there as well. He'll have to be potentially investigated over the role that he played. I mean that's very, very shocking. And what else is happening? Boris. So Boris is now, we're meant to be out this month. And Happy New Year, guys. I should have said that right from the start. Happy New Year. We should be out by the end of this month, out of the undemocratic European Union. And I think, well, we'll see. I mean, he's talking about a trade deal within a year. Benefits everybody for the trade deal. If they start playing silly buggers, then that's going to cause problems. Boris has only got, and the Conservative, I'm not just talking about Boris, the Conservative Party have only got 5 years to deliver. If this is where Nigel would come in and just go ahead with all of them, Nigel would then, with the Reform Party, put candidates in every seat. I would obviously better prepare. I would start to get people who are in local areas, get them stand as councillors, get them standing at the Scottish Parliament, and develop your infrastructure that way. We already saw what Nigel did when they were standing in the European elections, when the Conservative Party weren't doing what the people had voted for. If they don't deliver it in the next 5 years, then Nigel stands in every seat, gets the Reform Party actually having local contacts, local people that will support their candidates. Then it could be just a switch from the Conservative Party, which I had already said in one of the other videos, that it would have been better voting for the Brexit Party rather than the Conservative Party, because the Conservative Party are full of Remainers and are people who have been manipulated, MPs have been manipulated by the corporatist globalists to actually put this treaties through, and we never voted to join the EU. We were basically hoodwinked into it. We were meant to be joining a EEC, and we get sucked into a European Union, which was never voted on to join in the first place, and then more treaties that were just continually put through without the consent of the people. And now we're leaving, and rightly so. And the Conservatives did this as well. The Conservatives are riven with the Remainers, and if the 17.4 million people who voted for Brexit had just voted for the Brexit Party, I think we would have definitely been out. There wouldn't be any ifs or buts. We would have definitely been out. There is still questions whether the Conservative Party are going to do it. If they don't do it, they're in a real sticky wicket. Just like Labour as well. If Keir Starmer wins, another Remainer in charge, and they were decimated all over England and Wales and the Midlands as well, and the people said we've had enough. And I hope they can bring in some new developments in these areas. They need to start backing entrepreneurs at a local level in these areas to develop jobs, which will then increase tax receipts and be able to provide more money for social services. Also that in China, they have now got a train that travels 250 to 260 miles or kilometres per hour. If there's a train that can go 300 miles an hour, we should have a high-speed network going down from Aberdeen, Dundee, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Leeds, Sheffield, or Sheffield, Leeds, and then down to London, and then out through the Channel Tunnel on the west coast, down through Glasgow, potentially Carlisle, but Manchester, certainly Birmingham, and then through down to London again, and then out through the Channel Tunnel. Also, we should potentially be looking at either a bridge or a tunnel, both rail and motor for cars, going from Stranraer down over to Belfast. The high-speed rail again, going down through Belfast and through Dublin, down out the bottom. Another another bridge or tunnel. Obviously has to be costed and find out environmental issues. I think 2 tunnels would be better, just similar to what's happened with the Channel Tunnel, going down to South Wales, through Bristol and down to London in the high-speed rail network down there. That would also save flights if we were trying to reduce greenhouse emissions, save flights. It would mean that Edinburgh and Glasgow to London would be commuter belt, because that would only be about an hour and a half by train if you had a 300 mile an hour train. So it's that's something that has to be looked at. Also, we would have to keep an eye on what's happening in America with the Hyperloop, because the Hyperloop would travel even faster, and it would be even faster to go from Edinburgh or Glasgow to London by Hyperloop than it would do by plane. And then that would reduce, obviously, greenhouse emissions. So, I mean, these are the things that we have to look at. And if we're building that sort of infrastructure between, obviously, Edinburgh is the 4th largest financial centre in Europe and one of the largest in the world. And London's the first. So, I mean, it would be great connecting London to Edinburgh via the other major cities with this Hyperloop. Also, even things like a British Football League. Obviously, if we can retain, Scotland-England's the oldest international football match in the world. And I don't think we should lose our individual countries within the UK, but there's no reason why we shouldn't have a British Football League. I think Celtic, Manchester United or Rangers, Chelsea are huge clubs. I mean, obviously they have got huge international support as well. And it would certainly strengthen the Premiership, and it would strengthen the clubs in Scotland as well. And it would bring in some absolutely fantastic matches as well, and also be helped by this new high-speed rail network, which should be make the connectivity, reduce greenhouse gases, reduce the amount of planes. If we can keep the actual cost down for the actual tickets, then if it's only 20 odd quid for a return, or 40 quid for a return to London from Edinburgh, then you're talking about something that would be very economically attractive. And then obviously right out to London in the high speed train. So, I mean, that's certainly something that might cost a bit of money, and they might need a bit of research. Obviously, moving towards cars and lorries whether it's solar power and rechargeable battery electric cars and lorries, whether you have sun, and you could potentially have, I would take it, if you're the vehicle's moving forward, you could have wind power as well. It would be able to move, recharge batteries, but that's certainly something that would have to be looked at as well. I mean, I don't see why the universities aren't doing the research on these sort of things, the transportation and changing from petrol and diesel to renewable energy for the transportations for cars and things like that. So, I mean, these are all sort of things that we have to look at, and challenges that they'll have to be put forward. So we'll see what Boris is actually thinking, and if he has got some ideas, good ideas, which would certainly be beneficial for all of us. And eventually, I mean, I don't know what the Green Party would do if we become a zero emissions country. I don't know what the Green Party what's going to happen to the Green Party. I don't know whether they'll just fade away because they'll become completely surplus. So I would just take the full green agenda and take it on board. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. It would just take it and try and put as much of it into practice as possible. I don't think it's not going to disadvantage anybody. I think it's going to be advantageous if we did it anyway. We can and we can help other countries send technology and development of cars, new cars and things like that to other countries. When we've already seen Scotland getting some, I think it's between 50 and 70% of the electricity from renewables. So these are all very interesting things that are happening just now from the green point of view. So I think that's me done. Probably got more to say. It's been very interesting year. I'm definitely being targeted by the state. There's other things that are happening in the background that I'm definitely being targeted, but I'm not going to stop. We're time for a change. I think it's time for a change, and it might take a period of time, but well, what else is there to do? My baby gorillas, I love you. Happy New Year 2020. Time for some very interesting things to unravel themselves over the next year. And I'm really grateful to Nigel for letting me stand as the candidate for Edinburgh South West. I'm very grateful to the people of Edinburgh South West for voting for me as well. And there'll be more. I'll be standing in the Scottish election as well. I'm sure they'll like that. Maybe not for the Reform Party or the Brexit Party, but I'll definitely be standing. Guys, thank you very much. I love you guys. And I wish YouTube would get the finger out and let me live stream. It's going to be much better when I can get live streaming. Thanks for my new subscribers as well. If you guys can help us out, I need to get up to 1,000 subscribers so I can start doing super chats and start interacting with you guys as well. Start chatting to you. Quite happy to chat to any of you with the politics. And I also want to do other comments with other people who don't agree with me politically, or basically do this new sort of Newsnight network, or not Newsnight, Question Time network. So and I'll start interacting with other people who are politically active. And what else is I going to do? Yeah, well, the new party will be set up soon, and that'll be very interesting. It's going to be a British party, although it's going to be very unique in the way it's set up. Guys, I love you guys. Oh, and in the description, there's ways to actually, if you want to pay money just now, it's all very gratefully received. I'll improve the actual production quality from any donations you've got. I won't spend it in anything else like Wine, Women or Song. I'm now going to not drink hopefully this year, so day 2, and no drinking, no smoking, and get rid of my other bad habits. So yeah, hopefully we can change it back to the gym for me. Right guys, love you guys.